I'm Turk Strawman. It's Ronky Ramen Truck. Thank you for selecting this video. Here we are. Humanity. At the beginning times. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, get with the program. Do it now. That way you can also activate the notification bell feature and be apprised of my new uploads. And here's something else that you can do right now. Share the joy of this channel with others simply by giving this video a thumb up now, lest you forget to do it later. Here we are. At the beginning times. That's in contrast to the more popular statement. Here we are. At the end times. That's rather pessimistic, isn't it? End times. Well, that's a lot of looking backwards, isn't it? How about we look forward? So here we are then. At the beginning times. Beginning of what? Well, I guess a new level of backwards, inside out, and upside down bullshit surrounding us, enveloping us, mutually interpenetrating with us on this planet. At all of its levels of manifestation, not just the physical. Dark forces in our faces, globally, right smack in our faces, entering our consciousness and taking a toll on it. Now, what recent event might just mark, at least symbolically, our transition into the beginning times? I'll just propose one. The opening ceremony for the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris, France, just days ago. Are you familiar with that ceremony? Did you see it on TV? Were you there? Have you taken in, observed, listened to any of the hoopla over it? Here on YouTube, it's very hard to find a video that just shows the ceremony. But it's not hard to find one that talks about it and shows clips from it. I didn't see it when it happened. I wasn't there. I'm not really interested in it. I really don't give a damn. And I did see some of the reviews, the reactions, the analyses, the largely Christian channel hoopla over it. And some clips, and it were some. Look. I also saw the First Lady, I guess it was our First Lady, the America First Lady. I think it was Joe Biden's wife. I'm not sure. I didn't pay much attention to who she really was. I thought it was maybe the president of France, but I don't know who that is. Is that a woman? This person didn't seem to have a French accent, but then again, Who the hell am I? I don't know. I don't know who it was. It was some head of state relevant one saying, who was there, actually. Her comment about the ceremony was that it was spectacular. And even the rain didn't dampen our spirits. It was just spectacular. I don't know what's wrong with her. Now, there will be those who may see this video who will agree with that woman who I just quoted. I am not the ultimate judge over what's spectacular and what's not. Or any such thing. I'm not the judge, okay? I think that most human beings, hopefully still, even today, in this age of humanity, will agree that there was something extremely wrong with that ceremony. It was a bunch of trannies. In a performance. The central part, I take it, the central part of the ceremony was kind of like a spoof on the Last Supper of Jesus the Christ. The Last Supper. And it involved a slew of trannies just looking ridiculous. And a child. She looked like an Asian child. There at the table. Last Supper table. There were other parts of the ceremony that weren't this downright blasphemous mockery of the Last Supper. But the whole thing wrapped up together, I might as well forward the observation that it was some kind of very weird satanic ritual, what the hell ever is really meant by that. I don't know. But it really far outweighed in significance as such any of the Illuminati, so to speak, based, performances and shows done at the Emmys, the global awards, and all, like certain performers, performances on stage with all these symbols and choreography and attire and language and so forth that just, oh man. This was beyond any of those. This was just inside out, upside down, and backwards in so many ways. It was ridiculous. It was in your face. Mockery of what I guess most people would say all decency, all morality, all gender as a principle in the universe, all the idea of salvation. Christian-based. But that idea, in whatever form it takes, extends through all the religions. This has a lot to do with personal involvement, establishment of true selfhood, mastery of self by self, movement away in contrast to consciousness hijacking and perception deception, which this channel is about. Those 5 things. The Olympics, the Games, date back about 2,500 years to ancient Greece. And this is what the opening ceremony has now turned into. It had nothing to do with Olympics. It had nothing to do with it. This was a worldwide affecting interface display of all that is backwards, upside down, and inside out. So, I proclaim that symbolically marks the beginning, the onset of the beginning times. So now we're in that atmosphere. You just watch. That's going to be a new precedent now. There's no more subtlety. I made a video, I don't know, a few months ago. It's got the most views any video I ever posted ever got. It's called Hardcore Spiritual Warfare. It was me proposing my point of view on the way I go about, or just one little corner of my take for myself on spiritual warfare. The way I go about it. So let's say this video also has to do with hardcore spiritual warfare, but it's from the opposite, or the opposing point of view. This is hardcore spiritual warfare perpetrated on humanity. It's not us, like me, a human, engaging in spiritual warfare. It's the spiritual warfare being engaged on me. You. You did not think that we humans are engaged in spiritual warfare before. Well, there should be no doubt left for you. And if you, after hearing that, go look at the footage, the clips, the ceremony, and do not see it as spiritual warfare being thrust into your face, then get with the program. Get your mind right. I don't know how else to put it. If you were to understand, which hopefully you do, if you're familiar with a lot of my videos here, you should be now familiar with the principle of the gender, the law of opposites, the law of rhythm, the vibration, the metaphysical law of analogy, the universal law of cyclicalness or cyclicity, and so forth. Order, sequence, balance. Universal will, the law of evolution, etc. the principles of mastery of self by self as I have laid them out. Personal evolvement, establishment of true selfhood. The tearing apart, the circumvention of perception, deception, and consciousness hijacking. If you have familiarity with these things, then you should know exactly what I'm talking about here. When I say, get with the program, if you cannot recognize what I'm saying about this in-your-face shit now, which marks the beginning of the beginning times. Maybe you will even know now, due to the other material here on my channel, what effect, what effects that ceremony soaking into the astral atmosphere of this planet and human consciousness on this planet, what effect that has. It does affect you, even if you had no familiarity with that ceremony at all. It's supposed to have that effect. That ceremony didn't just come about by happenstance. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. It was put together. It was choreographed. It was rehearsed. It was thought out. Why wouldn't it be? It was the opening ceremony for the Olympic Games. A global event with participants from all around the world. Now, isn't it interesting that also, apparently, the very next day, Paris experienced a prolonged, I don't know what the conditions are now, and I'm saying just apparently, I'm not there. The city of Paris experienced an entire blackout of power. Involving at night. Only one building in the city still had power. And it was like this big Christian church, Roman Catholic church, that, you know, the dome of which and the spires of which could be seen from great distance in the city. Everything's blacked out, no power, no electricity, except for you could clearly see the top of that church in the darkness. Isn't that interesting? And apparently, also, already, the athletes, well, the food has just about run out for them. Already! Like, the meat, last I heard, the meat was just about run all out. Well, they don't need that shit anyway, do they? It's really fucking interesting to me. A blackout except for the Christian church, I guess the main one in France. And they mocked the Last Supper, and now, I guess, you know, the athletes already got their Last Supper at the games. Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. So what's my point? Well, we're in the beginning times. And I guess it's time to face the fact that people all over the place are all fucked up. People barely know what the hell they're doing or saying anymore. They're so distracted and caught up in all kinds of mental garbage. Just for example, my wife, as you may know, She has cerebral palsy, a little bit of mental retardation, some cognitive problems from birth. She goes around town in a power chair now. She found herself a power chair, a $30,000 power chair for well, somebody gave it to her. No, I guess it was $100 or something. Perfect condition. It's hard as hell to get an insurance to pay for one of those things. And they're a lot of money. A good power chair, $30,000. She got one of those. So she goes riding around all over the place for it. And just yesterday, she went out, and it was after dark now. No, it wasn't even dark yet. And somebody who we both know, she and I, was supposed to go, I requested that that person go meet her for a specific reason. To stop by where she is at. In fact, she had just gone shopping at a grocery store on the other side of town. And she let me know that she was done shopping. And I said, well, let me call this so-and-so and have him come meet you right there by the grocery store before you make your way home. Right. He agreed. He said, I'm going over there right now. And he only lives about, 2 or 3 blocks away from there. So it's a good place for him to go meet her and take care of the thing that needed to be taken care of. Right? So I got off the phone, I called her right up, and I said, hey, just wait at this specific spot here at the end of the parking lot, by more Main Street, and he's coming right over. Good while passed. I don't know. I fell asleep. I woke up. It was after dark. I don't know how much time had passed. It was at least an hour. I called her. And I said, how close to home are you now? She said, well, I'm still waiting for the guy, for him. I said, what? I called him up. He answered the phone. Oh, I forgot all about her. I'm in the shower. I could hear her shower. I said, what the hell's wrong with you, man? She's in a power chair, as you know. It's after dark. She just got groceries a while back. She's waiting for you. That's weak. I hung up the phone and I called her back. I said, you talk to the son of a bitch, man. Call him up. I gave her his number because she didn't have it yet. Never did. Now she does. Call him up. Deal with this. Deal with this guy, man. I don't want to talk to him anymore. This is preposterous. Because of her. She's a vulnerable female out after dark now. It was going on 10 o'clock by then. Maybe after 10:30. A little while later, she called me back, and she said, yeah, he got here in like 5 minutes. I'm on my way home. 5 minutes is all it took him to get there, from in the shower. Now, how could he forget when I called him? And he said, oh, okay, I'm going right there. He should have been there in less than 5 minutes. First time around, he made it there in 5 minutes or less from in the shower. Point is, how distracted does a person have to be for that to happen? To make that kind of a blunder. The person's not known to be like that. It's not a normal occurrence with this individual. I mean, not that that kind of occurrences, come up much, but, just in general, he's not a person who would do that. how distracted, consciousness hijacked, and perception deceived does a person have to be for that to happen? It has to be pretty bad. My point here with this anecdote is that this is the way people are getting more and more. Not just like that specifically, but just freaking hijacked. In all sorts of ways. Most of us are just so used to it that we barely even notice anymore, but I notice. So let's link that together now with the beginning times. I guess it's time for people like you and I to develop personally, who personally evolve and move forward with our mastery of self by self. In the least, those by developing some true compassion for others. I mean, if we remain consciously aware of all this shit in our faces and going on with our fellow humans, just how livid would we be all the time? How much blaming and anger and hate could we develop pretty damn quickly? A lot. Maxed out, right? We got to develop compassion. We have to be able to understand what the hell's going on here. People are fucked up. Humanity is frail right now, very frail. And under some very strong, destructive influences. Spiritual warfare is in action, and it involves all of us. It's time to move ahead now with some bona fide compassion, which means being detached from circumstances, being mindful, engaging in mastery of self by self, and yet believing that humanity can be liberated from suffering and captivity and consciousness hijacking and perception deception. Can. And engaging in some level-headed thinking about it, some detachment from the ways of the world, and yet being in the ways of the world at the same time, and giving people a freaking break, and doing what we can, at least our own personal work and influence on others in opposing directions. It's time. It's no longer just for the Buddhists. It's for us all. We have to develop bona fide love and compassion for our fellow human beings and live it. and to avoid and get around or attenuate compassion fatigue, we must pay attention to our own mental states. And that takes practice in the face of such adversity and in the face of such compassion, or an involvement in such compassion, to avoid the burnout, to avoid just becoming non-feeling. The practices put forth here on my channel will greatly aid in that direction. Pay attention to them. It's no longer just an armchair exercise for you people. Do it. You liked this video? Give it a thumb up. Didn't like it? I don't care. Give it a thumb up anyway. Subscribe, get notified, share the joy of the channel with others. Thank you for selecting this video on We Are in the Beginning Times. I'm Dirk Strawman of Tharachi Ramacharaka. Be compassionate.